my goodness. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. And I know who Julie is, but for those people who have never met Julie before, give us
Pretty lucky ones.
Let me tell you, I met Julie in real estate where she had asked a question in a group. And I saw the question. I was like, normally I don't answer. I like to see what other people are going to say, and then I sit on the sidelines. But for some reason, with Julie's question, I jumped in and I answered. And I met her in person, and she was like, "You're the one who answered my question." And then after that, it was like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Julie, hey, let's go grab coffee." And she was like, "Sure." So for those people who don't know you, tell them a little bit about who Julie is. Don't give me everything. Tell them who Julie is.
Okay, well, I have like a standard 4-point. So my name is Julie Petra. I'm originally from Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I am married with 2 kids. Been married almost 28 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's getting there. I'm gonna plug in that in 5 days I turn 60. So that's a birthday.
Yay.
By profession, I am my second round of profession. I'm a realtor, real estate coach, investor.
Mm-hmm.
I do some network marketing. I've done a little crypto,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had some fun with TikTok. So I'm trying to get on social media a little bit.
Okay, so you said second career. What were you doing before real estate? What were you getting into?
Before real estate, well, we have to break that into 2 parts.
Okay.
So I graduated from my undergraduate college with a nuclear engineering degree and went into the power industry.
Okay, pause, time out. So that sounds like Julie could build a bomb. So don't get on her bad side. You see why we friends? Because if she going to blow something up, I want to be on this side with her pressing the button. Wow, that is huge. Like, what drove you into, because nuclear engineering,
Right? Mm-hmm.
real estate and investing, that's like night and day. What?
It isn't really. It isn't really because you learn a lot of analytical skills as an engineer.
Okay.
And how did I get into engineering?
Nuclear, to be specific. 'cause
Nuclear,
that
to
is-
be specific.
Yeah.
So at my high school, anyone good in math and physics was encouraged to go into engineering.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I went to the chart and I was like, which one of these people makes the most
Uh-huh.
nuclear? Okay. So that's the forethought that went into that.
Have you made more money as a realtor and investor than the nuclear
Yeah.
engineer?
I mean, no comparison.
Wow. Wow.
But, I mean, let's keep in mind, I was an engineer in the late 80s and 90s. And then I went to grad school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met my husband and married him, and we did our thing being married.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 50, I decided I didn't want to be a stay-at-home wife and mom anymore. So
wait, whoa, you skipped the whole
yes,
season. So
yes,
you went to
when I
grad
married
school.
my husband,
Uh-huh.
whom I met in grad school,
Uh-huh.
I ended up being a stay-at-home wife and then a stay-at-home wife and mom. And then that was 18, 19 years.
Wow.
And then when I turned 50, I was like, yep, don't want to do this anymore.
So did you get to use your nuclear degree before grad school and before?
Yeah, I was in the power industry for 7 years before I went to grad school.
Okay.
And then I worked for about a year and a half after grad school. But most of my time since grad school has been, stay-at-home wife and mom.
That's pretty cool.
Learning those soft skills.
Wait, you think stay at home? Okay, so
Bam, bam, bam,
okay, so let's talk about it. As a nuclear engineer, stay at home mom, were you a realtor or an investor first?
Investor first.
Okay, and so for those of you watching who don't know the difference, you can be an investor and not get a real estate license.
Of course you can.
But you decided, and we'll talk a little bit about that. You decided to actually get the real estate license.
Right.
So before we talk about how those transferable skills came into play, why get the real estate license if you were already into investing?
Well, I didn't know this until fairly recently, but I must be a bit of a control freak. And
you don't say.
don't
I
even
need
start
y'all
with
to
me.
know
Don't
that
even
we
start
had
with
a
me.
beautiful setting to sit in. And Julie walked in and immediately said, "No, we can sit at the table." I'm like, out of all the
I
podcasts
didn't
that I've done,
say
no
we
one.
can sit at the table.
No,
I
she said we gonna sit at the
may
table."
we sit at the table? Would it be possible? I requested.
It
and
was
my
a strong request.
Anyway. So I had a realtor really mess me up in a deal.
As an investor or just personal?
I was the investor and the realtor messed me up. I was using a realtor.
Okay.
And it only takes one big mess up before I said, well, I'm not going to do that again.
How bad was the mess up?
Oh, it was pretty bad.
Did you lose money?
Worse, I lost the deal.
Oh.
And I had no business losing that deal.
So
Just
that
complete lack of responsiveness.
Yeah.
And I didn't have another avenue to go toward the people on the other side of the transaction.
Do you
At
think
least
that
I
was
did.
their first time working with an investor?
No, it wasn't their first time. It was years later that I found out the reason for that carelessness. They were going through personal problems. I didn't know that at the time. I just thought unpleasant thoughts about them for a long time.
So personal blended into business, which affected you.
Which it happens.
Yeah.
I have noticed since I've been in it that personal always blends into job performance. So that's why, I mean, not that I am cold-hearted, but I do want to know what's going on in someone's life to see if I need to pivot away
So
or
you
change
use insider information to say, I ain't working with you because you got kid issues today. No,
No, I won't say I won't work with someone, but you have
You're
to
more
understand what you're dealing with. Because the person that you work with that doesn't have personal problems is not related to the person you're working with undergoing a great deal of personal turmoil. I mean, it's true for me too, although my personal turmoil I tend to keep pretty squashed because I know how to compartmentalize, but I can see an impact on my focus and my concentration and my temper when something's not going right at home.
Y'all, I'm writing another question for Julie because I had questions, but I got to.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So let's talk about these transferable skills that you had. So you went from nuclear engineer, stay-at-home mom, real estate investor, realtor. So what were the skills that you brought into investing / real estate from nuclear engineering?
Well, nuclear engineering has a very heavy math component. And when I came out of school, Excel and all of that was just becoming very popular. And so I started using Excel spreadsheets to model the performance of the power plants. That was my job. I was performance engineer. So modeling a system was the skill that I have now used everywhere else in life, because you want to model your deals. You want to figure out what are the different flows, and you need to understand it before you can model it. So having that skill has encouraged me to think I need to understand different facets of a deal before I go into it. Now, some people can say that can lead to analysis paralysis, but once I've developed the tool, and I'm a firm believer of everyone building their own tool. I don't share my funky spreadsheets because I don't think they'll make sense. They don't make sense how they think and I think. That's not the same. But if you know how to build your own tool, then you can use that to analyze anything. And you can use it quickly. So it took a while to get the tool, for me, usable. But now that I have it, I can completely say, okay, plug in some numbers, I get some preliminary figures, I can move from there.
So it lets you, does it help you determine if a deal is going to be a good deal or a bust, or does it help you?
Well, I have different tools. So I have like the one I call the napkin analysis, which basically I use that spreadsheet to plug in some things and let me know if I'm going to even look further at that deal. And then based on the type of exit strategies, then I have different types of spreadsheets that I use to analyze the deal. And, you know, but I don't share them because I think that my tool won't work well in someone else's hands.
Have you thought about selling the tools?
Nope. Not at all. Well, there's a good reason for it, because when I first got into real estate, I used someone else's tool. And unless you are taught about the assumptions in the tool, then you can't use it well. And since I know my assumptions, I can use it. If I give it to someone else, it's very difficult.
So it's like taking your thoughts but putting it into an assumption that only you know what you're looking for and how you want to figure it out.
I don't think that no one else can use it, but I think it's very difficult to teach someone your assumptions and why you use them. Where it's easier to teach them to develop their own, and so they know what those assumptions are.
I like that.
You know,
okay. So
teach
back
them
up a
to
little
fish.
bit, though. Oh, what do you mean by that?
don't give them fish for a meal. Teach them how to fish themselves so they can create their own tools, so they understand their own analysis, so that it makes sense for them.
I was about to say something smart about people who say, well, my broker isn't giving me leads. My team isn't giving me leads. That goes directly to what most people say, is if I give it to you, you'll never know how to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being forced to lead generate for yourself is crucial.
Yeah.
Being able to understand what an opportunity is.
That's difficult.
That's
most
very
people don't
difficult.
Recognize. I don't know if you all understand that. Tell them what you mean by that. What an opportunity is.
Well, what I mean, so for example, a lot of people will come to me and say, "Have you done wholesaling?" Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
What is wholesaling? Wholesaling is being able to get something under contract, and it's a good solid contract, and then you sell the contract. Well, first
sell the contract before it closes.
Before it closes, you sell your position.
Okay.
So, and before it closes can be sometimes a little fluid. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
But you're selling your position in the contract. Well, so what you're selling is only as good as the contract you write.
Mm.
And to be able to take advantage of a situation where a seller is coming to you where that would be a viable path for the seller,
Yeah.
you need to be able to recognize it. So there have been times when, like one time I was getting my hair done, and the person mentioned, "Oh, we're in trouble." And I was like, "Oh, ears perked up. What's going on?" And then one time I accidentally walked into a wake.
Wait.
Yeah, just let that go.
No. We're not going to slide past
And I got
that.
a deal out of that.
Okay,
I mean,
wait a minute.
it just depends.
Who accidentally walks into a wake? What happened?
I was door knocking, trying to find some deals in a neighborhood that I had found something before. And I noticed all these people, and I was like, well, I don't know what's going on, but I'll knock on the door.
Okay,
And
so
they
when most people would
invited
say...
me in, and I was like, okay. And I didn't know why, so I went in.
You don't know. Oh, most people would see a bunch of cars and assume, well, they're having a function. Let me keep it moving. You got curious. Knocks on the door, goes to the wake.
I figured if there's 60 people in there, at least 10 of them own properties.
See, the mindset. It's the mindset. And I think that sometimes, because I was having a conversation with someone who is doing all these dials. I mean, tons of dials a day, but not converting. And I think sometimes it's because people they don't recognize what an opportunity is. So
you have to be present in the moment to recognize an opportunity. You can't just be going through the motions.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I got a call, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, from a cold caller who called me with "Are you willing to sell such and such property?" And I said no. I mean, I try to be kind to cold callers because I have cold called, because I have hired cold callers. So I try to be kind. And then the next thing she said was, "Do you have any other properties to sell?" And I said yes. And she goes, "Oh, thank you," hung up.
Oh, wait, what? Oh,
so she wasn't in the moment. She wasn't listening.
She was trained that people were going to say no. She missed the opportunity.
Her mindset was that everyone's going to tell me no, and she missed the opportunity when someone said yes.
She probably didn't even recognize it till she hung up, and it was probably an auto dialer.
Yes, it was, and had gone on to the next, because once you've connected and you've disposed it, whether or not that's a nurture lead or not, but I never heard back, at least not as far as I know, about that. Yeah.
So, wanted to go back and ask this question. You said you had a realtor, and you lost the deal, so you decided to become a realtor. Why not just go hire another realtor?
Because I saw how powerful and impactful that position was.
What do you mean? Tell us more about that.
Well, at the time, keep in mind, I didn't really know what realtors did. And I felt like the access to the seller was locked up by the realtor, because this realtor was representing me as a buyer.
So we could do a better job with letting consumers, even investors, know what we do.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And so now that I am on the other side, being a realtor has an extremely high learning curve. It's not easy. I understand viscerally that many people don't give realtors the credit. Many people don't understand what it takes to be a good realtor, and then paint everyone in the industry with the same mediocre brush that a lot of people deliver. But part of that is based on how people choose realtors rather than how bad realtors are. If you choose realtors by how lovely their hair looks and how great their videos are.
Yeah.
And then you get into a situation where you need them to understand contracts and exit strategies and lending.
Preach.
Then you're not going to get the realtor that you need, but you certainly got the realtor you chose.
That needs to be the ending scene, but we still got time to go. Y'all see why I enjoy having conversations with Julie, because that we actually talked about that. So we're going to segue a little bit, because I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs it can become a lonely place because we don't have that corporate. We go in, everybody's got that corporate person that's the really good friend. You got that corporate person that's the villain and nobody wants to talk to. And I remember you and I had a great conversation about relationships, and that was one thing that you mentioned was people sometimes fall for what they see.
Yes.
And none of it is real. They're selling you this story, and then you get caught in this vulnerable moment where you need them to understand the contract. And I, as a real estate coach, as a real estate broker, I can tell you I know firsthand people who do not know their contracts, but they sell you a beautiful story online.
They do sell you a beautiful story. And here's the thing that I think is important. You have to understand why you need a realtor.
Ooh, tell them.
So if you're selling a house, you want someone who knows how to market that home to the best and widest path of potential buyers. So remember, they're not selling it to you. So you need to step out of the way. They're selling it to somebody that's coming in after you. Maybe the you at the time you bought it, because there's a reason you're moving on from the house.
Okay.
So if the house was still perfect for you, you wouldn't have listed it for sale. So now you need to sell it to someone who is coming in and it's perfect for them at the time that they're coming in to buy. And that person has to understand that demographic. So for example, I had a listing, and it was in a part of town that I didn't really know, but I knew the people that were going to be there. But there are two sides to that. There's the demographic that you have to sell to, and then there's the managing of the seller.
Yeah.
And that particular position, I realized that I did not have the bandwidth nor emotional fortitude to manage that seller, so I got out of the way. No commission is worth putting the seller and myself in a bad position, or the buyer and myself in a bad position. If we aren't helping each other, if I'm not making money delivering my best product, and if you're not benefiting from my best product, we don't need to be in that kind of fiduciary relationship. That's what I believe. I will drop a client if I don't believe I can do my best for them.
And sometimes it can be the client that causes you not to do your best because they believe that they know what's best and they don't want to listen, or they give you this perception of, I want it done this way, versus listening to your expertise who's been doing this for years.
There's that. Sometimes it's a communication style. So they might have listened to somebody else's style of communication.
Yeah.
I understand and accept fully that I am not for everyone.
Now, I want to go there really quick. Not that you're not for everyone. That's so y'all, we're not talking about that. But you mentioned communication styles, because what I've noticed is a lot of people will teach you need to adapt to your client's communication style. You don't agree with that. You think that they need to be, and not that you adapting to someone's communication style means there's disrespect happening.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes there can be disrespect, and people are taught, oh, well, yeah, they're going to be disrespectful, so just adapt to that personality. What are your thoughts on that?
I am too old for that.
Okay, there it is.
I am too old for that. Maybe 30 years ago, I would have had the emotional bandwidth to switch back and forth. But I expect a certain level of respect because I give a certain level of respect. If I don't get it back, we're now in a position that I can't do my best for you, because what I'll be doing is plotting rather than, preparing and protecting.
What do you mean by plotting? If it's illegal, don't even. Let's move on.
No, it's not illegal. I'm not going to say it's illegal, but someone like us, we're used to dealing with people when they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you want to be in a protective mode when dealing with people when they're vulnerable, not in, oh, I know all of your buttons to make you go. You don't want to be in that predatory mode while trying to serve someone. So if I feel those kinds of things come up where I'm looking like I'm going to get you, then it's time for me to exit the building and allow someone who can be more of a protector for them.
Because I know
firsthand because they pushed the button. And I'm like, ugh.
Julie would say, I'm not working with that person. We're like, will you turn down a listing? But I respect that because it's not worth the energy or sometimes the relationships that could go south because of that, where you have sometimes people are so desperate because they haven't learned to fish. They've learned what someone can give them. And when either that person is not giving or they don't know how to convert what has been given versus figuring out themselves, then they're willing to take that client who's going to disrespect them in communication.
Maybe so. I think that sometimes when I look back, I haven't done the job I was supposed to do in making sure they understood how I worked and agreed to that sort of contract. And I will own that and say, you know what? We either need to do a contract renegotiation and we redetermine how we're going to work together, or we do a contract termination and you go figure out.
Find somebody else. Just get somebody else to do it.
Get somebody else to do it.
So you are, when I did not realize, this is crazy, I didn't know who Julie was. When I answered her question, I didn't know that Julie was this, I'm going to call her a mega investor, and she's going to downplay it because I know Julie. Watch this. We had a class, and I was showing people how to use our systems to find properties that someone owns by their name. And so this one, Julie goes, oh yeah, do me, knowing full on well that I was not going to be able to find her. So I'm sitting up here and I got this big old smile and I'm like, yeah, this gonna work, I can't, your name is Julie or Juli? And she just sitting there with this big old smile because I could not find, I don't even think I found your personal property. She, as an investor, why have you taken, I call Julie the secret investor because we had this situation where someone asked, how many properties do you own? And she just smiled. One never tells. It was almost like that Breakfast at Tiffany thing where you don't tell the secrets of a lady. And it was so funny to me because I know the number probably has like 4 digits behind it when you look at the number of doors, but you're not going to know. You won't find Julie. She's unfindable. And that's how I knew.
I'm not unfindable to someone like me, though.
That's different because not everybody is like Julie.
I can find me. I can track you down.
I am sure.
Especially if I'm motivated. Why do I need to track you down?
We know that Julie can find people when she needs to find them. So what is your motivation to continue to invest, to continue to buy? Because it's not, some people buy the single family. Your mindset is bigger than, let me just buy one house. You're changing, and I'd like to think sometimes you're changing lives for people because you're not just buying properties to say, I'm going to rent it out and make money. I've seen some of these properties you have purchased that look like, wow, did you wear a hazmat to go in there? And you have transformed it to now where someone can move in there and probably change their lives. What makes you keep doing that to buy not just a single family, but let me go buy these multifamily, let me go buy these units? Why?
On days like today when I'm really tired, I wonder why myself. I'm not even.
I appreciate you coming in here with me tired.
Well, it's been a week, a month actually.
Yeah. That's gonna be podcast number 2 to talk about what had happened.
What had happened was, I love making money, but there are many ways to make money, and you have to be comfortable with what you're doing. Yeah. And I like leaving things better than when I found them.
Yeah.
That's just my general mindset.
Yeah.
So, and that's relationships.
Yeah.
So, for example, this is something that people have said was weird. There was a guy that I loved very dearly before I met my husband, and we were together for 7 years. And you're thinking, well, why didn't that work? Well, variety of reasons. I was not right for him. He was not right for me, but I cared about him. Our breakup was not amicable. And I wanted to make sure that it became amicable.
Okay.
I wanted both of us to consider each other friends and to still care about each other, because I had cared about him for a long time.
Yeah.
Not only that, he was very important to my mom. My mom thought he was a great guy, and he is a great guy.
Yeah.
He didn't deserve the total firestorm that I would have brought to his life.
Yeah.
You know, and we weren't compatible, but I loved him, and I still care about him.
Yeah.
But I felt it important not to leave a relationship like that with negative thoughts behind it. So I did the work.
Yeah.
You know, I had to kind of humble myself and ask for
And that's
forgiveness.
different.
And yeah, and
Wait,
so
wait. You asked for forgiveness? That's
Yes.
the cardinal thing we don't do as women. We let it go. I appreciate that, though.
no, because there were
like that.
things that I did that I could have. You know, here's
That's
the thing.
maturity.
Well, no, I won't say it was maturity at the time.
Really?
What it was, I used to confuse honesty with caring, but my honesty wasn't kind.
Wait, so you confused honesty with caring. What do you
Honesty
mean? Give
with
us an
caring.
example.
Well, how you tell somebody whatever it is you perceive to be the truth is important, not just that you tell the truth.
Oh,
You
okay,
can be
okay.
very damaging with
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes what you need to do is keep your mouth shut and lead with your heart. You know,
She said,
lead
y'all
with
need to
your
shut
heart.
up.
I'm not saying no.
See,
I'm
that was
saying-
me being honest.
No.
Turning it to
I mean,
Carrie.
but sometimes you need to shut up.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, that's true.
Yeah.
But what I needed to do was learn some tact and some nurturing and wrap my truth up in that, which I
Okay.
didn't have.
Okay.
And there was no way I was going to be any kind of successful in life, let alone be able to appreciate the man I did marry if I
Yeah,
didn't learn
that's
that
good.
lesson,
Okay.
you know, because the person that acted like that with the first man would not have been on the radar of my
for the
husband.
second one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
So
good. That's good.
You got to
So-
prepare yourself.
I like that. So as you evolve and you grow and learn as an investor, you have Pitchonomics.
I do.
And you were writing a book on Pitchonomics.
I've actually finished it. I've just not finished editing it. I've got
Okay.
other things.
Well, tell them what Pitchonomics is.
So, Pitchonomics is a 10-part strategy to grow, protect, and transfer wealth. I stand behind the efficacy of the strategies, but what I can't define for someone is what wealth is for them. And so it starts with you have to define what that
Yeah.
is. And there are 10 steps that are iterative. So you start with understanding where you are and what resources you have and what your goals are. And so you have to kind of reset yourself. You
Yeah.
can't bring regrets into the start of a major
Yeah.
growth like that. So the resources I focus on are money, energy, and time. The goals that I focus on are end-of-life goals, not 3-year, not 5-year,
Yeah.
not 10-year. It's basically, if you were to pass away tomorrow, what would you regret not occurring? And the rationale behind that is I
pull up my
lost my
list.
mom, and she was only 57 years old.
Wow.
And there was a day, and it's interesting, I remember the date of the day that she said this to me. And it was, I'm not ready to die. I don't want to die, but I have no regrets. And I wanted to be able to live my life so that if, say, today's Monday and I know Tuesday's coming, that I would be able to say I have lived without regrets.
Wow.
Doesn't mean without mistakes.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
means that I have done whatever it is I was supposed to do to handle. I don't leave things undone.
Do you feel like you're there?
Oh, I'm there. I mean, I don't want to go out and pass away today.
Yeah, yeah.
But those that I love know that I love them. I know that I've been loved. I know that I've done good. I know that I've left things better than I found them.
Yeah.
I've gotten some level of discernment over the years, and I would say the number one gift of growing older gracefully and through wisdom is discernment.
Yeah.
So that you understand things at 60 better than you did at 50, and better at 50 than you did at 40. And
Yeah.
that's a blessing.
And I'm pulling up this picture because you
Oh, gosh.
taught me I'm going to call it I'm going to call it if then. And Julie taught me this because you're talking about having regret in relationships as well. And I took a picture of this because I had a moment where Julie saw me in a very vulnerable moment, which I don't enjoy people seeing me in. And we were talking about relationships and friendships. And I really consider Julie a friend. And there's a lot of people that call themselves your friends. In this business, being an entrepreneur, you have to have discernment. Everyone who says friend, what does that word even mean? Because I'll be honest, growing up, I used to be taught you don't have friends, you have associates. And an associate is someone that you might have some type of relationship with them, but be careful about calling them friend because you'll be disappointed. And I used to create expectations for people, unspoken expectations that said, because I am the superhero friend for you, you have to return that. And boy, was I wrong. And I've discovered that there are some people who in the beginning look like they have great intentions, but it's really about what can I get out of you? What can I get from you? And then once I'm done getting that, I'm gonna treat you like the side piece. You like that side friend. When I see you, it's high. It's you but I can't get anything from you. And it's so funny because I can almost predict. I know when somebody's gonna call Julie, and I'm like, Julie, they just want X, Y, and Z from me. She's like, I already knew that. Julie taught me about understanding discernment in this business before I knew she was even teaching it to me. And she gave me this thing called if and then. And she says, if you don't, well, I'll let you, because I have it. She says,
what is it?
This one. Is it? The if and then.
Oh, yes. So this is to determine if you're dealing with an energy vampire, right?
Ooh, come on, Julie.
Yeah.
And I love this. And because we can have that. I want to give it context. Like, you are an entrepreneur, you are an investor, you are a realtor. You experience more energy vampires almost in the same token that I do as a coach, as a trainer, because people are always coming to you wanting to know what can I get out of Julie today. So tell them about it.
I actually don't have a problem with that mindset.
Okay.
Wanting to know what you can get, but don't be reaching with an empty hand. Bring me something. Bring me something.
Yeah.
Understand that, if you want to get something, I know my value.
Yeah.
Don't think you're dealing with someone you can fool into giving without getting. So I have no problem with the transactional. I have no problem with the transactional nature.
Yeah.
Just don't bring me, a broken down junker and think I'm handing over a brand new Lamborghini or something.
I was the fool letting people bring me their lemons,
junkers.
And I'm giving you the $1 million vehicle until Julie taught me this lesson. Julie, tell them what it is.
But this conversation centered around whether or not someone was a friend.
Yeah.
And you can have the energy vampires as long as you keep them in their lane. And this one is, if someone isn't someone you can share your triumphs with, or if it's someone that you do share your triumphs with and you get this lackluster response. If you either feel I can't share, or when you do, you get the lackluster response, then deep down, and this is what I believe, you already know what you're dealing with. You don't have to wonder. You just have to accept it. And there's a difference between knowing and accepting. Yeah. And so, and then another thing, if you have a friend that's totally killing it in whatever game and they're not trying to share the secret sauce, like, there are a couple of things I've tried to get you in.
Yeah, right? And I was like, Julie, I can't do this.
But it's not like I hid it from you.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, why didn't you tell me about that? That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I tell you about it and you don't decide to, I did my best.
You did it.
I did my job.
I say it all the time. Education is free. It's what you do with that education.
It's what you do with it.
And I'm sure I could have been a millionaire by now had I listened to Julie.
Well,
there were things that outside of because I'd overextended myself.
Well, don't think I haven't overextended myself.
Well, I didn't say yes to the right things. I was saying yes to everyone and allowing them to be those energy suckers. And you told me if they are not applauding at your successes, your triumphs, they ultimately, you already know they are the energy vampires. And if they're killing it, because I used to be the one wanting to bring everybody along. And I had to stop that because I turned around and noticed, but wait, they didn't bring you.
They didn't, no.
Along. And one thing about Julie that I appreciate is if she had something going on, she was like, listen, I need to get you involved in this. And sometimes I didn't even see the value of what she was trying to give until it was like, okay, now that I've cleared out the energy suckers, I realized that there was someone here trying to invest in you. and you didn't listen because your plate was so full you couldn't fit anything else because you
Well,
needed to.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to compare some of these people that we've talked about, they look a lot more successful
Yeah.
than I am.
Yeah.
They have more of the flashy.
The ones we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have all that.
The flashy
And I don't
lifestyles.
look like, I get that. I
Mhm.
don't look like all that.
Mhm.
You know, I'm somewhat
Right, I
unassuming.
challenge you on that. You look amazing. But, okay, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where most people will look at someone and say, oh, they must be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I have
Call it
now
the Myron
those
Golden.
that know my mindset and my mentality and get deeper behind the curtain, then they
Yeah.
can see evidence that there's some measure of success there. But on the outside, and you know, I don't stand out all that much.
You have nothing to prove to anyone.
I haven't had anything to prove to anyone in a long time.
Okay.
So like I don't mind looking like a fool or being embarrassed or trying to learn something or asking
Yeah.
questions or no, I will, you know, if there's something that somebody else knows and I'm like, wow, that's really great, I'm coming to ask.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I saw a podcast yesterday on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I wonder if I can track them down. Of course I can.
I was about to say.
Of course
What was
I
the
can.
podcast?
Let me hold off on that.
We'll talk offline.
Yeah,
when
we'll
they not
talk
watching.
offline about
well,
that.
what's interesting? What I meant by you have nothing to prove. You're not displaying the vehicles that you could be displaying. You're not displaying the properties that you could be. You're not displaying saying, "Here's my portfolio. You must see that I'm amazing at all these great things." Where I see other people intentionally, I need you to look at the logo in the back of the headrest. Shout out to you if you do that because you want people to see what you have. But you're literally just going about your day in your life, making sure you don't leave this earth with regrets because you are living the life that you have created intentionally to live without having to prove to people, hey, I drive this, or hey, I have these. Because I promise y'all.
There are not a lot of people whose good opinion
Mm-hmm.
matters to me.
Yeah.
So for doggone sure, I'm going to worry about their bad opinion
Ooh.
of me. And that gives you a level of
I
freedom.
like that.
Gives you a level of freedom.
Yeah.
When you don't care what people think of you,
Mm-hmm.
then it frees a lot.
Yeah.
You get a lot of time. Now, there are people whose opinion and judgment and discernment that I
Yeah.
value. And I will seek their advice and their counsel. I care about what they think. But some random person,
Watching a post or commenting.
yeah, and that's why I find posting difficult because I try to share what means something to me, and
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't resonate. But I have to count on resonating with the few who get it,
Yeah.
rather than having millions of views. Like
Right.
that's not necessary because those people aren't going to be compatible with me anyway.
How does one work with Julie? I want to be an investor. I want to learn how to get into investing. I've heard this nuclear engineer who's a phenomenal investor who ain't got nothing to prove to any of y'all by posting anything that she owns or possesses because she already knows she's the boss. So
Well, okay, I like it when people see a before and after and they're pleased with the transformation.
that's what I like watching you do.
I like that. I don't do enough of that, but I do like
Okay.
getting, because what I'm doing is I'm creating affordable houses, something nice.
That's what I was
someone would
driving
live
to
in.
earlier.
Yeah.
You are creating something.
Yeah.
You're not just in it saying, how can I get rich off of this? You're creating something.
I do
and
want to
that
make
is-
money off of it.
Well, that's leading to the money.
Yeah.
Is your intention. You're creating affordable housing, but you're not just putting people in something that, that
I don't
is
put them in something
mold and-
trashy. No.
I love that.
And first of all, I mean, we have to understand my grandparents were humble, very, very humble people.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the conditions that they had to live in weren't great. I remember that. And
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to provide something that's affordable. I still do well with it.
Yeah.
And they get to do well with it. Now, there's a problem. You put somebody in this, and then they don't want to appreciate what you've done. And then you've got to get them out. But
And
I
y'all
like
can
to-
watch those videos where you don't want Julie to show up and have to put you out. That was
Yeah.
an interesting one. And I was like, Julie, you need me to come up there? She's like, nope, I got it.
I got
But
it.
I was still on standby.
I got this. I'm not afraid of.
So what
this
have you
person.
learned this, the past 12 months? What has it taught you being a mom, a wife, an investor, a friend? What have, if anything, have you learned?
I have learned, or I have experienced the burnout of trying to get someone, and not just one, but someone's, get them to the point of prosperity that I think they deserve to be, that they should
I've
be.
burned her out. I'm so sorry.
You are not the one.
I'm coming back.
And then just having to accept I can't want it more than they do. And
Wow.
and just I don't let go very easily. Once I
Yeah.
decide I want to help you, I am trying to push you up
Keep
a
pushing.
steep hill.
Yeah, yeah,
And then sometimes it's like I have to say I give. I call uncle.
yeah.
I can't help you.
Why do you think people don't accept when they see it coming? They don't accept that, hey, I'm really just trying to help you. Do you think they see it as, oh, well, you know, she's trying to get something from me? Why do you think people don't take it? I know my reason was I didn't recognize the greatness, and I was burnt out because I because I had this when I met Julie, my cup was starting to already fill, and I had no one telling me, hey, you are going to burn out again for the second time. If some of you see my story, you know that happened before, and it was burnout in a different way. And like you, I was wanting more for people than they wanted for themselves. Why do you think people wouldn't accept, hey, I'm trying to show you how to be great here, greater than what you already are, and drive you to greater potential?
Well, if anyone looks me up on TikTok, my handle is Mama Julie.
Yes, let's grow
Mama
this TikTok.
Julie, the mindset rebel.
Yeah.
And I
Ooh.
believe that they haven't done the initial deep work to be
Yeah.
ready for success.
So they're not
And
ready
that's a
for it.
thing. You have to be ready for success, because
Okay.
if it comes suddenly and you've not worked for it, you're going through the trauma of trying to keep something you can't hold on to.
Ooh.
So you have to be prepared to receive the success. And I don't think people are taught how to learn, and that's unfortunate.
We're taught how to pass the test. Somebody wrote a book on that.
Yeah, we're taught how to pass the test, but we're
Yeah.
not taught how to recognize a previously unseen opportunity
Yeah.
in order to make it work.
How
for
do we
ourselves.
learn? How do we get taught to learn? How does that happen?
It's not going to sound very kind, but you just have to be totally smacked down. And then all of those preconceived notions you're finally willing to let go because you're so desperate to do something better. Then maybe you're ready to accept some direction.
So it sounds like that person is probably almost at like their wits' end. They're done, and now they've realized, wow, wait, Julie actually was trying to help me not get here before they actually get there.
Maybe the opposite. Some people are not uncomfortable enough to
Okay.
change.
Okay.
And so they cling to habits that aren't advancing them forward.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I've been guilty of this myself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes it takes that smackdown to be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, there was one, this was pivotal for me,
Okay.
but I've had some really great mentors and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one that said to me one time, and it was fascinating. He said, and I'll never forget it. He goes, I love you. I love everything about you, but you are hard-headed and you don't listen when you're supposed to.
Ah.
And the reason why you're in this position, XYZ position, is because you didn't listen to XYZ that I said. And I started to say something, and he said, nope, it's my talking turn now. And then proceeded to read me what for. And that was something I needed to hear. It was the combination. I love you.
Yeah.
You are hard-headed.
Yeah.
Not that you need to change that, but you need to listen as well.
I feel like
And
this
that
is a
was
talk
the-
that I needed to have. So, yeah.
That was something that I needed to hear. The smackdown came after, but I was prepared to deal with it. I was ready to take the smackdown and pivot it to something greater.
Yeah.
And sometimes a smackdown is the path to something greater. We
Yeah.
need to realize that. And I was able to pay it forward because someone else is going through a very similar situation. And I spoke to this person yesterday, and I said, please learn from what I had to learn going from something similar. I said, I'm going to give you this. And I had talked to her a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you need to call this one person. And when I talked to her yesterday, she hadn't done it. And so I told her, I said, when I tell you something to help you get out of a situation, I mean, you take care of that right then,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
I'm going to start listening. I'm gonna start listening because I
Well,
promise you.
I listen to you.
And it's interesting
I
because
always
I
listen
don't
to you.
really have a lot of people that now what the sermon has given me is I like your talk. That's what it is talk. I don't know how much of it I'm really gonna listen to because I feel like I've been set up by wanting to be everyone's friend. Oh my gosh, we're gonna be great friends. Let's all kumbaya. Versus looking at the if and then. I ignored the if and then.
Yeah,
And when
you
you
gotta
hit
look
me
at
with
the.
that, I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow.
Well, here's the thing. I don't always come across as friendly or nice, mainly because I'm not friendly.
She is
or
friendly
nice.
and she is nice.
I am. You came to me at different. I reached out. You came to me and helped me. I remembered that. So when we met in person, I had that in my bank. But there have been people, I'm sure, that can attest to this, that have met me without any kind of, say, connection. And depending on my mood or if it was Tuesday, they,
Don't call it tomorrow.
they're like, what kind of person is that? And a common friend we have, I'm going to shout out to Michelle Hambrick.
Oh, hey, Michelle. I've tried to get Michelle on podcast. She refuses because she just refuses. So y'all help me get her on because she speaks so well.
She's great.
Very
Well, the
talented.
first time she met me, I must have said something really kind of foul. I wasn't feeling meeting anybody that night, so I shouldn't have been out. And then later, we ended up connecting. I called her to help me with some insurance, and then she was like, "Can we have lunch?" And she goes, "Well, the first time I met you, you said this," and I was a little taken aback by that. And I was like, "Did I?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "I'm not even gonna lie. That sounds like something I would do."
Accountability, owning it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It sounds like
okay.
something I would have done if I wasn't feeling,
Yeah.
whatever the meeting of
At least
people
you're
at the
honest about it
moment.
and you didn't try to hide it.
And she said, "Well, I've come to know you a little bit better now working with you." So
Yeah.
I would say, with someone like me or with anybody, take them where they are. Learn to see the signs. I'm not going to be the person that comes to the party and I'm the life of the party. I'm not going to be the person that comes in. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm not going to hug a whole lot of people. I'm probably going to sit in the corner and watch and determine who I want to talk to first. And if there's nobody, I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Okay. So when is Picturenomics coming out?
The book?
We're going to end this podcast with the release date. What's the release date?
Let's say June 2025.
June 2025. All right, y'all. You heard it first. That have you ever put a date to it before?
Yes, but that date's passed.
What is going to make you hold June 2025?
I understand that my load right now is very heavy.
Okay.
And so going into that endeavor, I need to finish certain things.
Okay, so we are going to raise our hand because we love Julie here. I love Julie. I'm going to step in and I'm going to help. I know I have stuff on my plate. I feel totally fine and comfortable with moving some things and some people to the side because I've actually read the manuscript for Picturenomics, and I was like, oh my gosh, when is this going to hit Barnes and Nobles? And then we're here 2-3 years later. So,
Well,
but
you
I
read,
understand.
you read like the first draft. There's
I
been
did.
several drafts.
Oh.
And it's looking pretty good. It needs polishing, but that requires focus and time I don't have to give
Well,
it
there
right
we
now.
go. June 2025.
Oh, gosh.
We will be having another conversation in between there to check on her progress. And then we will look forward to the release party because
that'll
we're
be
going to make
fun.
it a big deal. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. I think this needs a part 2 because we have not even scratched the surface. This was like infancy stage of the questions that I had for Julie. I couldn't even get to. I probably asked one question that was on the list of 20.
That's because we always go off topic. I love it.
So I will be coming back again. We probably need like a whole 4 more conversations just to
If you
get
think there's
into
that
it.
much worth to talk about with me, sure. I'll do it.
I always tell you it is.
Okay.
We probably need 4 more. I'll ask 5 questions on each conversation to get through the list of 20. I appreciate y'all. This has been awesome. This is
Thank
Julie.
you for having me.
What is your TikTok again so they can go follow you?
I am Mama Julie. That's Julie with no E, the Mindset Rebel.
All right.
Like
Well,
and
I
follow for
appreciate
more.
y'all. Yes, follow Julie because I promise you, if you are looking to grow not just financial wealth, mental wealth, change the way you think, change the way you process and how you see things because sometimes we need the Julies in our life to say, have you considered if and then? And I know some people will say, well, you should have known that. But remember, I'd gone my whole life with trying to please people and make sure people weren't upset or angry. So let me do what I can to make sure they're great. And it was there are some people on the surface, it looked like it was being reciprocated. It was not. I can promise you, it was more of a, oh, hey, girl, not a, are you all right today? And Julie, I can always count on her saying, yeah, something was off, so let's go have a conversation. So I want to thank you for that and for really being someone I can call a friend. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to call you a friend.
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.